Imperial amazes butter lover.
Oh, butter's so much better than margarine. Margarine was all right for cooking occasionally, but not for the table.
Edith Morris was sure she could tell Imperial margarine from butter.
Really? Well, for goodness sake. Yes, you fooled me. Imperial tastes like real good butter. Lots of flavor. I have another taste now.
Move up to Imperial, the butter of margarines.
From your TV2 News Center, this is Newsbreak. The jury in the Ann Arbor VA hospital poisoning case has ended 6 days of deliberation without a verdict. Police in Port Huron say they have recovered the body of a 30-year-old woman, a Warren woman, who jumped off the Blue Water Bridge today. A man is scheduled to be given a lie detector test tomorrow in connection with an execution-style murder in New Haven over the weekend. Those are some of the stories. We'll have more news on your TV2 News tonight at 11.
Happy birthday, America. 8 o'clock.
Because of the following special broadcast, the Jeffersons and Shields and Yarnell will not be presented this evening.
This is a CBS News special, Our Happiest Birthday, with CBS News correspondent Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. On this July 4th, 1977, Americans are gathered once again in cities and towns across this land of ours to observe our nation's birthday. The speeches and songs and games and fireworks, they're all part of a typical 4th of July. But our story tonight is about the very untypical 4th of July, 1976, the 200th birthday of the United States. Our CBS News reporters and cameras were stationed in many parts of the country that day, and we were on the air from 8 a.m. until after midnight, covering the bicentennial. As the day went on, one could almost touch the spirit that swept over this country. It was a spirit that said, our country is 200 years old, and after all the growing up, after all the glory, after all the setbacks our country's gone through, we can still say with pride and gratitude, we are the American people. So in this 1 hour, we want to share with you once more scenes from that unforgettable day when it seemed most of the country came to the party on our happiest birthday. At Baltimore's Fort McHenry, July 4th, 1976, began before dawn's early light with fireworks, bombs bursting in air, the same kind of spectacle that inspired our national anthem. Bicentennial had a cast of millions from Maine to Hawaii, from Texas to Alaska. They paraded and danced and sang in celebrations that were brassy, zany, yes, corny too, and often deeply moving. For many people, that July 4th last year began with interfaith services. Some bicentennial celebrations focused on the ideas that would forever be identified with this country. At New York's Battery Park, conductor-composer Leonard Bernstein read from the Declaration of Independence. And in Philadelphia, singer Marian Anderson read from the document at its birthplace, Independence Hall.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states.
In a moment, more of the bicentennial celebrations of July 4th, 1976, our happiest birthday.
This is a testimonial for Tickle, the antiperspirant with a big, wide ball. It's so effective at helping stop perspiration, so effective at helping stop odor. It's given people a unique way of saying it works for them. How do we know? If Tickle wasn't working, who'd be laughing? Staying drier is nicer with a little tickle.
Dorothy Hamill introduces the shampoo for short hair, Short and Sassy Shampoo.
It makes my hair shiny. More important, it gives my short hair a wonderful body. So I can do this, and I can do this, and my hair looks like this. I've never tried a better shampoo for short hair.
New Short and Sassy Shampoo from Clairol.
It'll give your hair a body for the short and sassy look.
A great way to start the day is to start breakfast with fruit and cereal. Until the fruit's all gone and you're left with just plain cereal. That's why smart fruit and cereal lovers eat Post Raisin Bran. You see, Post mixes wholesome bran flakes with so many sweet, chewy raisins, you can get fruit in spoonful after spoonful, right down to the last spoonful. Post Raisin Bran, the fruit and cereal lover cereal.
Many nations joined America in celebrating the bicentennial, and what gifts they sent us. The tall ships, the most magnificent sailing ships in the world. They came to us last July 4th to sail past millions watching in New York Harbor, and millions more watching on television, of course. Charles Carrault covered Operation Sail for us that day, and here's his report on those beautiful ladies of the sea.
It has just been a perfectly glorious day in New York Harbor, and all along the way, hundreds and thousands of people have packed themselves in shoulder to shoulder to watch what is really a stately procession. It was a procession that took us past the great bronze Lady of New York Harbor, symbol of liberty. That book she holds in her left hand says on its cover, July 4th, 1776. 200 years later to the day, the Coast Guard bark Eagle sailed under her lifted lamp. And behind us, 15 other windjammers from the nations of the world and more than 200 other vessels sailing out of the haze toward the harbor and the Hudson. What I was thinking, what many in the crowd may have been thinking, what the young sailors in the rigging looking down on it all must have been thinking, was this: none of us will ever live to see such a sight again. Down a wide corridor the ships came. It was a corridor both of space and of time. And it was a day of high spirits. Aboard Norway's Christian Radich, a cool young Scandinavian cadet who remarked in advance that he was not excited by an event so unrelated to him as America's birthday, grabbed his camera at about this point and started taking pictures furiously of the other ships. It seems, he told a reporter, that I am very excited after all. We were all excited. Everyone on the ships and surely everyone on shore, which adds up to about 6 million of us. And if our pictures caught the moment truly, maybe a few million of you were excited too. Those luffing sails as the great ships labored into the face of a northerly breeze, the great harbor alive with sailing ships as it has not been since, say, 200 years ago on this date, when His Majesty's fleet was sailing in with hundreds of ships to discharge on Staten Island 32,000 troops under the dismayed gaze of General Washington. This time there were fireboats welcoming the British and the Danes and the Russians and the Argentines, the thousands of sailors from 30 or 40 countries. There were fireboats and the throaty horns of every tug and ferry in the harbor, and the cheers of all those millions on the crowded shore. And as we approached the Battery, the tip of Manhattan, there were the guns. The guns fired aboard the ships anchored in the harbor and in the Hudson River, the modern warships of the International Naval Review, and from howitzer emplacements on the shore. If you've never been in the middle of a 21-gun salute, you can't imagine the concussive power of it. Modern warships, you know, are armed principally with missiles these days, and their guns are not the great, loud, long-range cannons of years gone by, but these were loud enough for me. 21 guns at high noon. A birthday cannonade for America. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying. The fireboats flung a little spray our way as the Eagle passed the tip of Manhattan and set her course up the hazy Hudson River. And each of the other tall ships in turn received New York's red, white, and blue salute. The beautiful full-rigged Denmark and Christian Radich, Argentina's Libertad, tallest of the tall ships, the USSR's Krusenstern, the longest of them, Gorch Fock from Germany with her engaging skipper, and all the others. And each ship returned the salute in the classical manner of the square riggers by sending each young crew into the rigging, some shouting cheers across the water. Most of these ships were about the length of a football field, some considerably longer than that, their masts towering 150 feet and more above the water of the harbor as they sailed north toward Spuyten Duyvil, the northernmost tip of Manhattan. Well, sailed is a euphemism for motored. Italy's magnificent Amerigo Vespucci, for one, didn't even shake out her sails for the trip up the Hudson, for the wind blew just in the wrong direction on this otherwise perfect 4th of July. In the old days of sail, a square rigger would have had to wait outside the harbor on a day like this for a shift in wind direction. So it was that diesel engines saved the day on Independence Day. Some schooner captains among the smaller ships that followed managed to fill their sails, however, and most of the tall ships let the crowd see their canvas, at least, as the moment arrived to salute the U.S. Navy ships of the line. This was the amphibious transport Nashville, as we saw her from Eagle, with her sailors in dress whites along the rail. Ahead was the U.S. Navy guided missile cruiser Wainwright, the official reviewing vessel with Vice President Rockefeller and Secretary of State Kissinger aboard. Ruffles and flourishes from the cadet band of the Eagle as the grim gray warship of today and the graceful windjammer of another time met. A fine ceremonial moment. Oh, it was an exhilarating day. Its sights and sounds will remain with all of us who were lucky enough to be in New York Harbor on the 4th of July, for many a 4th of July to come. The governments which sent their sail training vessels and the young naval or merchant marine cadets who sailed them here gave America at 200 as fine a gift as could be given, finer than plaques or medals which tarnish with time. This gift will always be bright in our memory. Not all those sailors were boys, by the way. That's Sir Winston Churchill, the British topsail schooner, smartly sailed from Bermuda to New York by a crew of young women. Her officers, stern men, ordered their crew to stay aboard during the stopover in New York, but facing a mutiny, relented. The names of some of the sailing craft in this lovely fleet can be read as a poem to America's past and future. Voyager, Pioneer, Ticonderoga, Spirit of 76, Restless, Fearless, Hope, Freedom, Spirit of America. On this one day, the Spirit of America was as buoyant and light as a white sail sheeted to the wind.
We'll return to Operation Sail later in our bicentennial review, and we'll revisit a lot of other places around the country, too, when we return.
There's plenty of paint and plenty of savings at Ward's. It's Ward's big pre-holiday paint sale. Get together with value on painting items like Ward's durable acrylic latex exterior paint, reduced $5, and Ward's interior gallery of colors, reduced $4. Both just $6.99 a gallon. These aluminum extension ladders are 20% off, all safety tested in a full range of sizes. There's plenty of paint and savings during the big pre-holiday paint sale only at Ward's.
America, you've been changing.
Coming, going, changing, growing, the things that make up life.
Why is Bank AmeriCard becoming Visa? To keep up with you.
You're traveling, you're moving, you're taking more from life.
Today you need money that's good around the corner, all across America, and in 117 countries around the world. That's why Bank AmeriCard is becoming Visa, the most widely recognized card in the world. Visa, we're keeping up with you.
We're all going to help Mommy clean up after dinner, right? I had a feeling.
Don't get mad, get Glad. Glad Large Kitchen Garbage Bag.
Now, Glad introduces the new heavyweight. Thicker, stronger. You can even feel the difference in the tough, strong plastic. Glad, the real heavyweight.
The kitchen looks great. It was easy. We all helped.
And that's a good feeling.
So don't get mad, get Glad. Glad, the heavyweight garbage bag. They're strong.
I'm glad.
Where were you when America celebrated the bicentennial? Perhaps on a New Hampshire village green, or at a parade in Ohio, or a family party on a Nebraska farm, or on a California beach. Maybe you're at one of the many places we visited on that glorious 4th. Let's go back to them now, beginning with New York's Chinatown.
This is the dragon dance. The dragon means good luck, good fortune. The noise and the firecrackers frighten away evil spirits. The dragon comes out only on very special occasions like Chinese New Year's. And this year, 4674, is the year of the dragon. This particular dragon is made of bamboo, colored paper, and 14-karat gold. Other dragons have been brought from China, but this is the first native-born all-American dragon, made here in New York to celebrate the 200th birthday of the country the Chinese call Mai Kwok, beautiful land.
This is the 20th annual powwow of a Kiowa tribal society, the Gord Clan, bringing Indians of many tribes together in Carnegie, Oklahoma, so that the culture of the past may be kept alive. Teaching children the old ways was one vital reason the Gord Clan decided to revive the old custom of an annual powwow. The children have a special dance, the rabbit dance, which their ancestors performed when they were young. Many Kiowas say that patriotism is an integral part of their lives.
I feel that since this is our country as well as your country, and our boys have fought for upholding the flag of the United States.
And here it goes, the Buffalo Stampede.
Yes, this is one of our new events here, and these people are really racing to see who's going to win.
From Willard here?
Oh, yes. He should be down there in 10, 11 seconds anyway. But he's having to chase it a long ways, so his time isn't going to be quite as good as it might have been.
Flipped him over there pretty fast.
Yes, he did. He's slowing him down just a little on his top. The idea here is the cowboys used to make their horses buck harder by hitting them with their hat and their other free hand. Now, there's the ride. Now, he sure is. He's got it going. He's scoring good, and he made it. Terry, we're into bulldogging now. This is a sport where the man rides up alongside his steer, gets down on him, puts a half Nelson on the horns, and throws him to the ground.
He's having a hard time on this one. 4 seconds is a good time, and he sure didn't get it in that.
Go. We had an early winner on that one. As you can hear, this is the way they used to call the husbands in from the field. That was the state champion.
Steve Trevor, a 22-year-old gymnast from California, is wing walking on Joe Hughes's Super Stearman biplane. Here we go. This is called the spread eagle, and there you have a nice clear shot. Holding on to the pylon with his hand with one foot secured and one unsecured. This must take about as much nerve as anything you can imagine. Steve Trevor says that his philosophy of life is that one should try to experience as much of it as one can, and he seems to be carrying that to the ultimate.
At exactly 2 p.m. Eastern Time last July 4th, American communities from coast to coast were alive with the sounds of bells commemorating the July 4th in 1776 when the 13 American colonies boldly declared their independence. The signal for the bell ringing came from the deck of the carrier Forrestal, host ship for an international naval review held in conjunction with New York's Operation Sail. Gerald Ford, as president during the bicentennial year, began the symbolic ceremony that rang in America's third century. With all the sounds, all the excitement of the bicentennial, it was also a day of reflection. During our day-long coverage last year, we took time out to listen as poet and dramatist Archibald MacLeish read from his play, The Great American 4th of July Parade. The play, published by the University of Pittsburgh Press, deals with our origins as a nation. Here is Archibald MacLeish.
This is a play about the bicentennial, which begins with a broadcast, a radio broadcast, which is supposed to bring the sound of church bells ringing from all New England at the moment of the rising of the sun off the coast of Maine. It proves difficult to work out, and what you will hear is the director talking to his engineers. He has a phrase in the script to go by. Every church bell in New England ringing. Think of a country steeple under country stars. Think of an old man in a kind of closet. He has a rope's end in his hands. It's dark, a light bulb, lantern maybe. The church smells empty as an attic, old as floorboards in a sagging barn. There's nobody awake for miles, he knows that. Only off beyond him, somewhere deeper in the night, the hills, a bell that answers his bell answering. The rope pulls, the reverberating iron rings. He hears that other ringing, Conway answering Chicarawa, which answers. Think of that closet and the slender rope worn smooth with human hands for generations, with human handling. That's New England. Church bells in New England, steeple answering to steeple in New England. And they try again, the engineers. That's better. That's more like it. Now, ring them, will you? Let them ring. This is their anniversary, remember? And the engineers try again. And he gets a little better, and then a little better. And finally he says, yes, but louder, louder. Jubilation of rejoicing bells, rejoicing bells. And then you get a great surge, a singing cadence. And he goes on, all New England ringing in the holy dawn. Every trembling steeple in New England, clear from Deerfield down to Bangor, Maine, south to Connecticut, New Haven Green, Farmington, the slender silver, Saybrook east to Falmouth, Boston, Marblehead, Cape Ann, Nantucket where the bells are buoys, Provincetown across the water. That rings it out and in, the second century gone beyond the Alleghenies, the third new risen off the coast of Maine. Farewell, the bells say westward, oh, farewell. Welcome, they say to eastward, welcome. I listen to them.
One of the most spectacular events of the bicentennial, involving hundreds and hundreds of participants, was the reenactment of an event not related directly to the founding of the nation. Instead, it was a reminder of our greatest tragedy, a time when Americans killed their fellow Americans in a civil war, the worst kind of war. Dan Rather covered the reenactment of the Battle of Gettysburg as the Confederates tried in vain to assault the Union position on Cemetery Ridge.
But what you are seeing is a live reenactment of Pickett's charge. That charge on July 3rd, 1863, which decided, so the historians say, to a very large extent, whether the Union stayed a Union or the United States became disunited. 15,000 Confederate troops marching shoulder to shoulder, line after line, through almost 1 mile of open field. On and on they came, wave after wave of Confederate troops walking across that open field. One wave goes down, another takes its place. What an incredible scene this is, even in reenactment. Another last charge by the Confederates in this reenactment. Confederates making one last effort to breach the Union line. Hand-to-hand combat. That kind of combat that every soldier fears. And the most colorful uniforms that you may see, those men with turbans are dressed in the uniforms of the French Zouaves. That was popular on both sides in the war, that some Frenchmen had toured the United States before the war, dressed in those kinds of uniforms, and some among both Southerners and Northerners preferred to fight in the turban-bedecked uniforms. The Confederates reached the Union lines ever so slightly. But so many of the Confederate ranks have been decimated behind that there is no follow-up. And the Union troops under General Alexander Webb counterattack to drive back Confederate General Lewis Armistead's rebels who had just breached the line. What a sight here on the battleground of Gettysburg. And for the estimated more than 30,000 persons who turned out to view this live, and 30,000 does not include the 2,000 participants, an unforgettable scene. The largest, most realistic reenactment of a battle ever staged in this country, and one would suspect anywhere. The Battle of Gettysburg, for all intents and purposes, by this time in late afternoon, was just about over. But a 24-year-old Union general, a newly made general, recently a captain, 24-year-old E.J. Farnsworth, led a suicidal attack of cavalry against the Confederate infantry.
Throughout our bicentennial coverage last July, a cross-section of eminent Americans, scientists, historians, philosophers, reflected on the meaning of our 200th birthday. And one of those we sought out was Father Theodore Hesburgh, president of the University of Notre Dame.
I like to think that today, as we celebrate this 200th birthday, what we really ought to be celebrating is a great human adventure. Because as man recognizes the dignity and the opportunity and the equality of all other human beings, whatever their religion or their culture or their race or their color, I think in doing that we become more civilized. And that task is never finished in our country or in the world. But I believe that in this country, in this kind of microcosmic country of all the world, we somehow have spent 200 years at that task. We've had our peaks and we've had our valleys. We've had high moments and we've had very depressing moments. But somehow today, looking back, it seems to me that the original promise of that declaration and of the government that was set up under a new constitution to achieve those rights and secure those rights, that somehow we've kept faith with that over the past 200 years. And I don't think we have to be discouraged for the time ahead, because we have the past, and the past indeed today should be prologue for the future.
The American population grew by several thousand on Bicentennial Day. Among the new citizens was Abigail Matthews, born on the 4th of July, 1976, at 4:02 a.m. in a New York hospital. And this is Abigail 1 year later, doing just fine, not quite aware yet of the very special birthday she'll be celebrating for the rest of her life. For her and all those other 4th of July babies a year ago, American citizenship is a birthright. But the Statue of Liberty still beckons the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. And so last July 4th, this nation of immigrants welcomed new citizens from abroad. Bill Curtis of WBBM-TV was in Chicago when 1,776 immigrants took the oath of citizenship.
These official ceremonies in an official courtroom in the Chicago Stadium, the naturalization, largest in Chicago's history, of 1,776 brand new citizens.
That you will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That you will bear true faith and allegiance to same. That you will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law. Or that you will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law. Or that you will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law. And that you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help you God. Please say, I do. I now declare you duly sworn and naturalized citizens of the United States of America. You may be seated.
Emotional point in the lives of 1,776 brand new citizens of the United States. The oldest here today is 90 years old.
Come to America, I like very much free country and everything, and such a beautiful everything. Before that was I came over here. You know, now everything building so nice and good, and take care of, you know, old people too, and I love it very, very much.
This, of course, is a very special day for all of us, but for 1,776 brand new citizens of the United States, it is unforgettable.
We promised earlier that we'd take another look at the tall ships in Operation Sail. Now, last July 4th, much of our tall ships coverage concerned the colorful ceremonial aspects, the graceful sailing vessels passing before the mighty warships of the International Naval Review. With all the other events we covered around the country, we just didn't have all the time we would have liked to show the tall ships coming back down the Hudson River with the wind behind them. So let's take a good look now at scenes we haven't had on the air before. 15 miles and 4 hours from the starting point of Operation Sail, the U.S. Coast Guard ship Eagle leads the procession in a spectacular U-turn. Navy men call it a 180, just north of the George Washington Bridge, which connects upper New York City and New Jersey. With the wind coming down from the north, many skippers use their sails to maneuver into a downwind or downstream position. Approaching the turn now is the Gorschfock of West Germany, a 293-foot three-masted bark. Sailors standing on the yard arms, part of that for the show of the thing, but they're also ready to lower the sails should the order come. And there's the Portuguese bark Sagres, behind it the Danish ship Denmark. The Denmark's a full rigger with wind in her sails back there, moving downstream. The Portuguese Sagres heading north to the turning point. The Sagres built in Germany, very similar to the Eagle and the Gorschfock. One by one, each of the tall ships makes that turn and then heads back to anchor in New York Harbor. That's the Christian Radich of Norway, using its engines heading into the wind with only its jibs and its staysails unfurled. Two of the world's largest sailing ships passing each other. In the foreground is Argentina's 3,700-ton Libertad. It's passing the four-masted Krusenstern of the Soviet Union in the background there. It's 370 feet long, and that's the longest of the tall ships. Now, this isn't one of the tall ships, but it has an interesting story nonetheless. It's the steel-hulled French racing yacht Club Mediterranee. This four-master was sailed across the Atlantic by a one-man crew, Captain Alan Calloo. It came over in a one-man race from England and to be part of the bicentennial celebration. Again, here's that mighty Krusenstern approaching the George Washington Bridge. And there that's its smaller sister ship from the Soviet Union, the bark Tovarich. It's heading downstream now under full sail. Not quite full sail. Doesn't have its big mains up. They were to unfurl those mains a little later. It's an unforgettable day for thousands of seamen in Operation Sail, of course, and for the millions watching on shore. 16 tall ships, hundreds of smaller sailing vessels from all over the world. That handsome barkentine is Chile's 370-foot Esmeralda, originally a Spanish ship, purchased by Chile in 1954. Like nearly all the tall ships, her crew consists of Naval Academy students or Merchant Marine students. Now all the way from Japan, here's the bark Nippon Maru. And finally, the tallest of the tall ships, perhaps the most elegant of them all, Italy's full-rigged Americo Vespucci. Mast height 180 feet. And it's also one of the longest of the tall ships, 331 feet. And so as Operation Sail ended, to the blare of horns and whistles and to the spray of fireboats, the signal was given to allow private boats to race downstream toward the lower New York harbor and the Statue of Liberty to gain a vantage point for the nighttime fireworks show. We'll see the fireworks and hear some great band music, too, when our happiest birthday continues.
I was flat till I went fluffy.
I was flat till I went fluffy.
I was flat till I went fluffy with just this much Prel concentrate. Say these are hairs. Dirt and oil deposit in here and make hair go flat. Prel concentrate leaves no deposits, nothing to flatten hair. So hair fluffs full like this and this. No shampoo leaves your hair fuller. Go from flat to fluffy with Prel concentrate.
Come on in, the feeling's fine. That quick Downy feeling, Downy feeling.
Downy makes your whole wash smell April fresh.
Smells good.
Rinses in softness and April freshness they'll really notice. Helps rinse out static cling.
It doesn't cling. Smells terrific.
Smells good. Downy.
Come on in, it's April fresh. That
A noticeable improvement.
I wish I were an octopus.
An octopus? What for?
Then I'd have enough hands to use these storage bags.
Don't get mad, get glad. Glad stand-up storage bag.
New Glad stand-up storage bags stand up on a flat bottom and stay open to leave your hands free. And they're strong for most anything you freeze or refrigerate.
That's easy.
Then wish you were an octopus?
Sure, I'd have more arms to hold you.
So don't get mad, get glad. Glad stand-up storage bag. Outstanding.
I'm glad.
The candles for our nation's 200th birthday party were the fireworks that lit the skies on both sides of the Atlantic. We got our view of England's sparkling greeting to her former colonies in a program especially prepared for the American people by the British Broadcasting Corporation. And here at home, we saw a series of fireworks spectacles capped by a fantastic scene in New York Harbor. Let's look again, starting in London. images we remember from July 4th last year, just about the merriest came to our screens from the banks of the Charles River in Boston. 250,000 persons were there for a concert under the stars. And it goes without saying in Boston that when there's music and fun, Arthur Fiedler will be leading the band and leading the fun. Watch with us and see what we mean when we say that Bicentennial was our happiest birthday. In a moment, some closing thoughts on July 4th, 1976, our happiest birthday.
Feeling hot? Thirsty? Lipton iced tea tastes so great, you just can't sip it. You gotta chug-a-lug it.
Chug-a-lug Lipton.
When you need cooling off, nothing tastes as good as Lipton iced tea. That's refreshing.
Drink chug-a-lug Lipton, and chug your thirst away. Chug-a-lug Lipton.
Yeah, I gotta get up. Which way is up? I'm off. I can't feel the floor.
Walter King has to bring himself back to life. Fortunately, he's about to discover new Coast deodorant soap, the eye-opener. New Coast deodorant soap, a crisp, exhilarating scent, and handfuls of bubbly lather combine to tingle your senses. It makes you feel more than clean. It actually brings you back to life. Refreshing Coast, an eye-opening experience.
Okay, time to get up.
Give me 5 minutes more.
What's the name of that new soap?
Oh, 2 minutes. I'll be right there.
I guess everybody can't wake up as easily as I can.
Bring yourself back to life. New Coast deodorant soap, the eye-opener.
I'd like to end this broadcast with the words we used to end more than 16 hours of bicentennial programming a year ago tonight. Well, the party's just about over. We're 200 years old. It's a milestone that makes us wonder what will become of us as a nation. We're not sure of the future. No one can be. We don't know what's behind the doors that we must open. We only know that the keys we have, keys cut in Independence Hall, which became our ideals: liberty, justice, equality. Our people have suffered and died for those ideals. We have, as a nation, written a remarkable history, certainly, but we should remember that we have not fulfilled our ideals even after 200 years. Correcting wrongs will be part of our future. It will demand courage. But correcting wrongs has been a dramatic part of our history. Courage is a remarkable part of our heritage. It can open the doors to justice for everyone. We'll be all right if we keep in our hearts the story of America. If we do, well, then 100 years from now, our country's hearts will still be host to those ideals that we gave the world on July 4th, 1776. And that's the way it was. July 4th, 1976, America's 200th anniversary. And since we're 201 on this July 4th, happy birthday again. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
This has been a CBS News special, Our Happiest Birthday. This portion was sponsored by New Coast Deodorant Soap, the refreshing soap that brings you back to life. New Coast Deodorant Soap, the eye-opener. This broadcast was recorded.
From CBS News, this is Newsbreak. A hijacked bus sits at New York's Kennedy Airport at this hour with a trigger-happy gunman and at least 9 hostages on board. 2 persons have been killed, 2 others wounded. The gunman has demanded $6 million and a plane. Where he wants to go, he didn't say. The White House has been asked by the State Department to admit another 15,000 Vietnamese refugees. Many of them are now unwanted and stranded in various Southeast Asian countries. A suspected former Nazi SS chief is being extradited from Argentina to West Germany. Eduard Rauschmann is charged in connection with the deaths of 40,000 Jews in Latvia. Without comment on what role the Palestinians would play, Egypt and Israel have agreed to reconvene a Middle East peace conference in Geneva this fall. Litter is a problem in the national parks. To help solve it, thirsty campers must now plunk down a nickel deposit on cans and bottles.
Soft ass, Julia.
Thank you, Bobby. Why don't you try Rose Milk Skincare Cream? You can really feel the difference.
I'm Morton Dean, CBS News, New York. More news later on this CBS station.
Join Bernadette Peters, Jason Robart, Flip Wilson, Gene Stapleton, and Tony Randall for a rousing 4th of July Song Fest. They set it with music from Yankee Doodle to Ragtime.
Next on CBS.
American Airlines.